26-year-old woman was involved in a 2-car accident 1 year ago. It wasn't her fault. Since then, she finds she cannot ride in a car without getting breathless and hysterical. She finds she reflects on the accident a lot, even dreaming about it, and carries on thinking about it after she wakes up. I notice she sighed a lot. She has been for x-rays and scans, and nothing abnormal has been detected. So unless you know the remedy already through your study of the Materia Medica, you'll be forced to turn to a Respiratory to look at the key symptoms. We use the Polonian Weaver Therapeutic Pocketbook Edition, as this is an updated and annotated version of the original 1846 edition by Berningshausen. We find it to be very accurate and very helpful, and the rubrics are in everyday English, so it helps you indeed to pinpoint what you need to find in terms of symptoms. So in the spirit of aphorism 6, let's just have a look at that. We go to the organon that's in the program, and we look for 6. The unprejudiced observer, well aware of the futility of transcendental speculations, which can receive no confirmation from experience, be his powers of penetration ever so great, takes note of nothing in every individual disease except the changes in the health of the body and the mind, which are morbid phenomena, accident, symptoms, which can be perceived externally by means of the senses. That is to say, he notices only the deviations from the former healthy state of the now diseased individual, which are felt by the patient himself, remarked by those around him, and observed by the physician. All these perceptible signs represent the disease in its whole extent. That is, together they form the true and only conceivable portrait of the disease. So now, we begin to analyze the case. In analyzing the case, if you have taken very good symptoms that represent the disease in its entirety according to aphorism 6, that is not quite your job done. What you need to do is go to aphorism 153, which I'll read for you. In this search for a homeopathic specific remedy, that is to say, in this comparison of the collective symptoms of the natural disease with the list of symptoms of known medicines, in order to find among these an artificial morbific agent corresponding by similarity to the disease to be cured, the most striking, singular, uncommon, and peculiar being characteristic signs and symptoms of the case of disease, are chiefly and solely to be kept in view. For it is more particularly these that very similar ones in the list of symptoms of the selected medicine must correspond to, in order to constitute it the most suitable for effecting the cure. The more general and undefined symptoms, loss of appetite, headache, debility, restless sleep, discomfort, and so forth, demand but little attention when of that vague and indefinite character. If they cannot be more accurately described, as symptoms of such a general nature are observed in almost every disease and from almost every drug. So, to me, this basically states that when we have the complete picture of the disease in all its different facets, we have to look for the center of the problem, or how that disease is expressed, not in the pathology of a named disease, but in the pathology of the patient. To that end, we need to look at this case carefully and choose the symptoms that represent the causation, the sensation, and the modalities. I always like to take, if possible, a causation. Although this is of a chronic nature, it is actually an acute disease. Now we know that it started after a car accident, but the resulting problem is an emotional one which causes a physical problem. So I like to look at it, and I use in the therapeutic pocketbook the term annoyance or vexation. And the reason is a patient is vexed by a situation. It's a lovely word, but it gives you a very good idea of, in this case, how the patient continues with a problem and associated with a disorder like anxiety, fright, indignation, disappointment, violence, etc. This even goes into the dreams. But right now, this patient had an accident. This patient lives in a state of fear, fright. So I use as my opening rubric for causation and a continuation of the causation, annoyance, vexation, fright with. So the next thing, what causes this patient to aggravate or be made to feel better? Well, since the incident, this patient does not like to drive in a car. So the nearest we have from the old-fashioned terminology is riding in a carriage. And because of that, over many years I found it also applies to driving. So I'm going to add that to our list of symptoms for this case. So what is the complaint that the patient feels? Well, the patient has difficulty with breathing. Her breathing becomes very oppressed. So let's just put that in. That is the end result of her situation. So when we look here, we want to see, here we go. Now we note that 123 out of 125 medicines has this problem. We add it because we can. I personally would not add it, but as I am showing you this case as a teaching case, I put it in because this is the result of her illness. So we need to just keep a focus on that. Now, what did I note as the attending physician? I noted that the patient sighed a lot. She'd be talking and suddenly go, or she'd be sat there doing nothing and just go. So sighing to me is an expression of this disorder, whether it is caused by respiration or not, by holding her breath or whatever, I don't know. All I know is she sighs. I also know that the patient dreams about the situation, and when she wakes from the dream keeps going, and her thoughts always on this accident, always on this inability to get over is there. So we go to dreams and we try and find something that fits the situation that she has, something that absolutely well, what fits this situation for me is she has persistent, continuous dreams. But more than that, because she's thinking about the situation, the dreams continue from the earlier thoughts. So here we can see the results of our thoughts regarding what the case is. We can see that Ignatia shows up very, very strongly. In fact, it's the only one that covers all the symptoms that we chose. And on this basis, we now need to go and have a look in the Materia Medica and see if the Materia Medica supports the indication for this remedy. So we have added one Materia Medica for you to have a quick look at. There are many others. Go and have a look and convince yourself Ignatia was the right remedy. As far as the patient's concerned, she had 4 doses of LM1. At the end of the 4th dose, she declared herself cured. No more dreams, no more sighing, no more problems with her breathing, and she felt in control. That's how it should be with homeopathy. So we leave this with you. We thank you for taking a look at the case, and we will prepare others for you in due course.